I told you that one scene from Psycho potentially ruined showers for an entire generation? I'm talking about Marion and her iconic scene in Psycho. This film shocked the entertainment industry and ranked as one of the best thriller movies ever made. Before we get started, let me warn you, there are going to be some spoilers in this video. We're about to dig deep into this scene, the entire plot, themes, and what made Psycho a legendary movie that still stands out to this day. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho is a film that changed the horror and thriller genres forever. It's masterclass in suspense, playing with the audience's expectations and delivering twists that still shock viewers today. The movie starts off as a crime thriller following Marion Crane, a woman on the run after stealing money, but quickly takes a terrifying turn when she checks into a creepy Bates motel. There, she meets Norman Bates, a polite but awkward young man who runs the motel under the shadow of his controlling mother. As Marion takes what seems like a routine shower, the film delivers one of the most horrifying moments in cinema history, the iconic shower scene. But the real horror does not stop there. As more people come looking for Marion, the chilling truth behind Norman and his mother is revealed, leading to a shocking and deeply unsettling climax. What makes this movie special is how it completely changed the way horror and thriller movies were made. Alfred Hitchcock took risks no one else dared, killing off the main character early in the film and creating suspense through clever editing and creepy music rather than cheap jump scares. So if you're in the mood for a vintage movie that keeps you hooked all the way until the end, Psycho might just be the perfect choice for you. Also, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all our new movie scene breakdowns. So, Psycho starts with Marion Crane, a young woman stuck in her routine life in Phoenix. She's in love with a man named Sam, but there's one big problem. Sam is drowning in debt. Under these circumstances, they can't start their happy married life. Marion gets really worried, but then one day, she sees an opportunity to change everything. Her boss gives her $40,000 to deposit at the bank, but instead of following through, she makes a risky decision. She takes the money and runs away. Marion dreams of starting fresh with Sam, but it may not be that easy. After grabbing her things, Marion immediately drives towards California, but she already starts regretting her decision. What will happen when her boss realizes the money is missing? This thought is just haunting her, and she starts to panic when a police officer appears behind her. To avoid suspicion, she trades in her car, but this only makes her anxiety even worse. As the night sets in, Marion gets really tired, and heavy rain is also becoming an obstacle for her. She starts looking for a resting place. Her eyes fall on the name, Bates Motel. Without a second thought, Marion immediately stops at the motel and checks in. That's where she meets Norman Bates, the young motel owner. He's polite and shy, in a little bit of an awkward way, but Marion can't be picky in these circumstances. Norman seems really amused of her and invites her to dinner. As they're eating, the conversation takes a weird turn. Norman starts talking about his mother and how she's sick, controlling, and completely dominates his life. Marion feels sorry for him and gently suggests that Norman should put his mom in a mental institution. This harmless suggestion changes everything. Norman's whole vibe shifts. His polite smile disappears and he suddenly gets defensive and angry. It's clear that Marion just hit the wrong nerve. She suddenly remembers the stolen money and excuses herself from the table. Marion can't live with the burden and decides to return the money early in the morning. But right now, she needs a relaxing shower and a good night's sleep. This is when the horror really comes to life and takes the act of showering to disturbing new potentials. The one scene that changed horror forever. Even if you've never seen Psycho, you've probably seen or heard about the shower scene or seen it parodied. That quick, chaotic, and absolutely terrifying moment that left audiences in shock. So let's break it down. After making the decision to return the stolen money, Marion steps into the shower at Bates Motel. The warm water rushes down, washing away the stress and guilt. It feels like a moment of peace and a fresh start, but then a shadowy figure appears behind the curtain. The audience barely has time to process what's happening before the curtain is ripped open, and then that sound. Yep, that's the shrieking, almost metallic violin sound becoming a pure nightmare for all thriller movie fans. The knife slashes down and all you can see is a rapid series of shots. Marion's mouth frozen in a scream, her hands desperately reaching out, the knife swinging again and again. The cuts are so fast, so chaotic that the viewer feels as panicked as Marion does. But the genius part here is that we really never actually see the knife penetrate her. Director Alfred Hitchcock used 78 different camera angles and 52 rapid cuts to create the jaw-dropping illusion of violence. This kind of editing was especially groundbreaking around the time this film was made. No horror film had ever been this violent and intense before. The way the scene was shot, from extreme close-ups to quick cuts between different angles, made it feel so real. Filming this scene wasn't easy. It took 7 days to shoot, and actress Janet Leigh had to endure endless takes in the cold water to get every shot just right. You also won't believe the blood in this scene was actually chocolate syrup. Yeah, you heard me, chalky syrupy. Because it's in black and white, it looked more realistic than fake blood. Besides that, the final shot of Marion's lifeless eyes staring into the camera, slowly zooming out, is one of the most haunting images in film history. Besides all of the details, what makes the scene so impactful is how Hitchcock presented it. We are just about 40 minutes into the movie and the main character has died already. This event never happened in movies created before Psycho, and you may not find it even in today's movies either. The clever director didn't just stop here. Before the audience can recover from the murder scene, Hitchcock did something unexpected yet again. Instead of cutting away, he now shows Norman's efficient cleanup, wiping away blood, rolling Marion's body up in a shower curtain, and dumping her car in the swamp. It's unsettling because it's so calm and precise. It seems like Norman has been seeing and doing such things for years. But the question is, who murdered Marion if it wasn't Norman? To get the answer, the audience must keep watching the movie despite the death of the main character. This scene wasn't just a moment in film, it was a turning point for horror, for cinema, and for how filmmakers even approach suspense to this day. Over 60 years later, it still holds up as one of the most terrifying and brilliantly crafted scenes in movie history. Marion's sudden disappearance doesn't go unnoticed. Her sister Lila grows worried and teams up with Marion's boyfriend Sam to find out what happened. Meanwhile, a private investigator is hired by Marion's employer to track down the missing $40,000. Private investigator Milton Arbogast follows the clues to Bates Motel, where he meets Norman. Just by talking for a while, he already realizes that something is off here. Norman seems confused, and he's contradicting himself and gets nervous, especially when asked about his mother. Moreover, he doesn't allow the investigator to meet his mother. Milton is not giving up so easily and sneaks into Norman's house. As soon as he reaches the top, an old woman suddenly rushes at him with a knife in hand. It's a chilling slow-motion moment, and you can see Milton's face frozen in terror as he tumbles backwards down the stairs. Before he can run away, the old woman moves forward and finishes him off with another brutal stab. By this time, you may conclude that Norman's mother is actually the killer, while he cleans up her mess, but the twist continues throughout the film, taking us on a wild, unpredictable ride. When Marion's boss doesn't get an update from Milton, Lila and Sam decide to investigate themselves. After reaching the Bates Motel, Sam distracts Norman while Lila sneaks into the creepy old house. She doesn't find anyone and decides to go back, but Norman has reached the house already. While trying to hide, Lila reaches the basement where she finally meets Norman's mother. However, it's just a rotting dead body sitting in a chair. Lila lets out a scream in fear and attracts Norman. He reaches the basement wearing his mother's clothes and a wig. He lunges at Lila, but Sam arrives just in time, grabbing him and wrestling the knife away. Norman's true nature is finally exposed. The truth is actually more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Norman wasn't just controlled by his mother, he was his mother. He was an overly possessive son who murdered his mother and her lover out of jealousy. But the guilt was too much for his fragile mind to handle. He eventually developed dissociative identity disorder, taking on his mother's personality. He spoke in her voice, dressed in her clothes, and wherever he felt threatened, he became his mother. Norman never accepted his crimes because he believed that his mother was actually the one killing people. In the final scene, Norman sits alone in the prison, completely consumed by his mother's personality. His expression is creepily calm as we hear his chilling inner monologue spoken in his mother's voice. He's telling himself to stay quiet and act weak so no one will ever suspect him. Then comes one of the most haunting images in horror history. Norman smirks, just for a second, and in that moment, a faint image of his mother's skull overlays his face. It's a silent confirmation that Norman is gone, and his mother has taken over completely. The ending of Psycho remains one of the most chilling and psychologically disturbing conclusions in horror history. Instead of relying on supernatural monsters, it shows us that the real horror lies in the human mind. The idea that someone as shy and innocent as Norman could be harboring such dark secrets made the film even scarier. Even after 6 decades, Psycho remains one of the most terrifying and influential movies ever made. It changed the way we see horror, taught us how to fear showers, and gave us one of the greatest villains in film history. Whether you're watching it for the first time or the 100th, Psycho is a must-see for any movie lover. What are your thoughts on Psycho? Does the shower scene still get to you? Like the video and subscribe for more scene breakdowns.